it's Sue back again. Thank you very much to all of you for your nice comments on my videos, and sorry it's been a while since I did another one, but we have been moving house and everything's been in storage. So I thought what we'd do is take a step back a little bit and we'll go into carding. This is mainly because carding is actually a very important part of being able to produce good quality yarn. A lot of people think it's a pain in the neck and they don't like doing it. It doesn't quite fulfill the creative need that the spinning does. But if you can manage to learn to card well, it actually becomes a pleasure, and it does enhance your yarns as well. It makes sure that you've got better preparation so that your yarns can turn out smoother and more even. So we're going to look at two different types of carders. This one, which is an ordinary woolen carder and is used for a range of different grades of wool. It has metal teeth which are reasonably spaced apart and they're on a leather backing. We've got a curve on the carder as well, and I prefer curved carders to straight ones. I think they give you a better action. And then we're going to look at this one, and this one is a cotton carder, and cotton carders come in smaller versions as well, so you can get them that are only about half of this size. The teeth are much softer, they're placed a lot closer together, and in this case they're on a rubber backing, which gives them flexibility as well. They are used mainly for things like cotton, silk, cashmere, angora, anything that's much finer fibre that you don't want to risk breaking with heavier woolen carders. And they're also very good for blending fine wools as well. So we're going to use ordinary woolen carders today, which are these ones, and what we're going to do is produce a row lag, which is this. And this is what we use for what we call in England long draw woolen spinning. American long draw is slightly different to the UK variety, and we'll look at that a little bit later on. But this is basically made for woolen spinning. So I'll put that to one side. The main thing, the main thing to remember about carding wool is that there are more don'ts than there are do's. The basis of it is rubbish in, rubbish out. If you don't want to have lots of shortcuts in there, and you don't want to have the risk of your final garment pilling, that's the little bobbles that come to the surface, to avoid that I suggest that you look at the wool quite closely before you put it onto the carders, because once it's on the carders and it's being carded, it stays in there. So any things that you don't want in there we'll take out before we start the process. So we're going to use some of this, which is quite a fine wool. It's actually a Romney Marsh crossed merino, and this is a first clip, so I'm just taking off the little brittle tips. It's been on the sheet for just over a year, and so it means it's had a winter and it's had a summer outside, so we're just going to take those brittle tips off. Checking the butt end, which is the cut end of the wool, just to check that there aren't any double cuts, and I'm going to place it on the carder. Now I know that this is a first clip because if you look at the tip of the wool, there's a tight little curl on the end. We actually call it a bird's eye. Okay, this is just a little close-up of the different tips of the wool. The four on the left-hand side are the lamb's wool with the very curly tips, and the sample on the right is one that has been previously cut. So that's had two cuts, whereas the previous four have only had one. And then we have the row lag above that, and that is an indication that this sheep has only been clipped once. So again, just making sure there aren't any double cuts on the end there, and placing this on the carding cloth. I'm not going to put too much on to start with, because otherwise it can end up being a bit of a problem handling it all as it fluffs out. So you're better off with too little rather than too much at this stage. So again, just taking off the brittle tips, looking at the butt end to make sure there aren't any extra little short bits in there. And although this is off one fleece, there are lots of different shades, so I'm using the carders to blend the colours as well, so that we have an all over colour rather than a risk of random stripes. Okay, so that's the wool on the card. I'm going to use my left hand with the handle in the palm that way, so my little finger's nearest the back of the carding cloth. I call this the toe and this the heel, and that'll become obvious in a minute when we transfer the yarn, the fibre, sorry. So we're going to start off with the cards together. The main thing is that we're not going to jam the carders together, we're just going to stroke over the top and right off the end. In between each pass, make sure that the fibre completely separates, and as you come back round, flip these tips out of the way so that they're not getting caught underneath and causing a double back. The important part is there, that's where the wool is straightened. Now if you come back too soon without separating the fibre, you can see the wool's still joined, and if you come back you're actually going to double the fibre back on itself. So we make sure that it's completely separated, and I use my knee just to give myself a little bit of firm base to card up. I'm keeping the carders totally parallel to each other, but I can actually use them side to side that way if something's building up at one side and I want to smooth it out. I'm also only using about 2/3 of the cloth, so from about here to the end. That way I'm not going to risk having fibres caught on the very end of the teeth and then doubling back that way. Now I'm going to transfer what's on the left carder to what's on the right carder. So we turn the right one over, and this is where the toe and the heel come into play. So I'm going to take the toe of the left hand carder, so that both of the faces are uppermost. Put the toe to the heel, do cloths, and then you're going to push one back and pull the other one forward, keeping contact. This one's completely cleared, and this one has all of the fibre on it.